Downtown Tulum Radio.
What's up, everyone? It's Joanne here, your host of Downtown Tulum Radio. I'm here with none other than Saeed Younan. Saeed, welcome again. Welcome back to Tulum.
Thank you.
Of course. So let's get right into it. Let's talk about your cold plunge experience.
Okay.
Yeah, let's get right into it.
Yeah, just like the cold plunge.
Just like the cold plunge, you just have to do it.
Yeah. It's something that I've been. I like the Wim Hof method, so I've been practicing a lot of like breath work. And this is something like, for me, it's all about like being present, working on my present. I do a lot of meditation, trying to be focused. And there's no other way to really be focused aside from a cold plunge. Cold plunge, you have no choice but to be focused. For me, it was an amazing experience. It helped my lower back. I have lower back issues, my joint and everything. Water was really cold. I stayed in there for 6 minutes, I believe, or something like that. So
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I did a minute and I was done.
Yeah, and the lady was even like, "Oh, I have the water way too cold than normal." So I was like, it changed my outlook on now I know what people are talking about, the benefits of it, and I actually do it at the house more often now. We got a big tub and I fill it with ice and just do a cold plunge before we take a shower once in a while.
That's amazing. So my question to you is, how do we get Danny Tenaglia to do this? Because he didn't seem so impressed when he saw you doing it.
Yeah, Danny makes fun of me because he sees me on a trampoline doing backflips. So he's like, "What are you doing?" And he's like, he's like a father.
He's like a father, watching out for you.
Yeah, but we can probably get him to do it.
Let's get him to do it. I think it'll be beneficial for him too.
I think so too.
I'd like to go back in time, say, you were born in Baghdad and, humble beginnings. And you had to deal with some struggles, of course, and music was your escape. So let's go back to the young Saeed. Let's talk about that.
So I was born in Baghdad, Iraq, and we fled the Iraq and Iran war in 1980 because I was in training in the army, practicing marching with a machine gun, with a rifle. And since I'm the only boy and I have two sisters, my parents were like, "We're not going to let the only boy we have go march into the army." So we fled the country, went to London. My father had two brothers there who did some paperwork for us, and we pretty much moved to the U.S. And during that time in Iraq is really when music became my only escape, because just to avoid the war, the missiles, the raid, and everything, I just shelter in my room, tune into a European station, hit record button, just listen to music. And I think that was my escape, and that's how pretty much music just became my life from here.
And you carried it on. Obviously, you moved to U.S., Washington, D.C. to be exact, right?
Correct.
And so then you started scratching hip-hop,
Yeah, it was crazy. In high school, I met a buddy of mine who had turntables that were passed down to him from Sir Mix-a-Lot. He's friends with somebody. He's like, "Hey man, I've got these turntables at the house. Come check them out." Back then, I didn't know anything about turntablism, so he showed me how to scratch, how to play. And sure enough, right after I graduated high school, he had to go to Navy. So he's like, "Look, I can't do anything with these turntables. Do you want to just hold on to them?" And he gave me the turntables. I mean, they were like Radio Shack realistic turntables. You had to put quarters on it or pennies or whatever, so the needle doesn't skip. And from there, I just picked up DJing, just practicing with his turntables that he left for me.
And so, how did you switch to house music?
So, house music, I used to go to Tower Record to buy hip hop records, because in order for me to DJ, I had to play hip hop. So, and I wanted to do school dances, house parties, and whatnot. In order for you to play these events, you had to play what the people wanted. But when I used to go to Tower Records, buy hip hop records, there was always a house section, hip house, rave, whatever you want to call it. And I used to always dabble with it and see what this music is. So in order for me to switch from hip hop to house, I found hip house. So I slowly made the transition between hip hop and house with hip hop. And the people who were listening to it at the house parties, they're starting to get into it as well. But I've always had love for since when we lived in London, it's disco was big back then. So I really found that love for that kind of being a 4-on-the-floor beat back then with the disco, and house became the thing that I found when I was probably just when I got out of high school.
So then, what's your first gig, your first real gig, where you say, "Man, I think I can do this. I can do this full time"?
So I had a buddy of mine invite me to play at a club in Washington, D.C. called the Fifth Column. And that was like the best club in my opinion back then. The DJ was like, look, we don't have a fee, we're not gonna pay anything. And I just mind you, before that I was constantly giving me my mixtape, him and the promoter, just trying to get booked. So they finally gave me a call, they're like, look, come in, we're gonna let you open up. His name was Michael Meacham. He's like, we're gonna let you open up to Michael Meacham. And I was a nervous wreck. Like, I've got my vinyl records with me. I used to actually always go to the clubs to get in free. I show up with a bag saying I'm the DJ, just so I can get in free.
That's a good trick for you guys that want to start out as a DJ, right?
Yeah, carry a little record back. So, but I did it also because if a DJ doesn't show up or something happens, they need somebody to cover. Kind of like what kids do nowadays. They show up to cover their USB. I had my bag of records, and if somebody can't do it, I'll just jump on and play. So Michael Meacham was nice enough to give me a chance to play, and the crowd loved it. Everybody loved it. I mean, I had my friends invited there cheering on, and from there I was like, okay, I know I got to make this work. This is my path. This is my passion, and the energy you felt on the floor is just like none other.
So you made it work. You went from AOL to a full-time DJ and just traveling the world. How did you make it happen?
So yeah, AOL was a doozy. So I worked at AOL for about 3 years, like 96, 97, 98. In 98, I started almost running a record label out of AOL and picked up records. So I would stay late and work on my record label. The management find out, and we started touring as well, me and Palaz. So every weekend we would go. Sometimes we don't make our flight back. We'll have to call at work, and he was working for as a finance person. And we tell him, hey, we're stuck in Germany, or we're stuck somewhere. Like, what the hell are you guys doing? And so we had to come out clean. We're like, look, well, we moonlight as DJs. And they're like, look, you're gonna have to pick one or the other. You can't be, doing this and that. And in 1998 is when I knew. I was like, okay, we have a record label. We're touring. We're already hitting Germany. Every weekend we're in different countries. I was like, this has to be. It's destined. Like, I felt it, and I knew right there. I was like, I can't continue this cubicle job. I'm just gonna take this and pull it like a Band-Aid and see what happens, because it gives us the direction. So in 1998, I quit my 9 to 5 and haven't had one since then.
So what about your label? Is that when you started it too?
I started, yeah. So I have two labels. So physical label called Addictive Records. We launched in 1998, just when I quit AOL. But by 2004, we had to close doors because of Napster, pirate and share and everything. So the label didn't have a long lifespan. We have amazing artists who are releasing albums. Once we closed the record label, I took these artists and I put them on a digital label called Younan Music. Younan Music was never supposed to be a record label. Younan Inc. was my incorporation name, and in order just to put out music, I just like, let me just make it Younan Music, and I added the word music at the end of my corporation name. And that's in 2004. This year we're celebrating 20 years, so Younan Music is actually a label for 20 years that I never thought it was gonna be. I just thought I wanted to put out some music.
But look, same with the DJing, right? You're in Germany and you're trying to make things happen, and you didn't know if it was gonna happen, but then you felt that deep down inside, and here you are today. So again, congratulations on your label, 20 years. That's crazy. What are you doing to celebrate that?
We just threw a bunch of parties during Miami Music Week. We had a huge party with Doc Martin, myself, Harry, and then we just did one in Washington, D.C. So we're doing little celebrations for the 20th anniversary, inviting some of the artists on the label. Also, when going to different states, different countries, if I have artists on the label, I make sure that they play with me. Like we just spoke about Guatemala. All the artists from Guatemala that are on my label, we all played this event. So I make an effort to have all the DJs on the label. If I'm in their state, town, or country, I make an effort to get them to at least play with me. So that's like my thing that I want to keep pursuing and making sure everybody gets their fair share, just like Michael Meacham did for me.
That's awesome. I know we kind of connected a little bit earlier on our ride here to Tulum, and you mentioned, what's next for Saeed? You've done so much, you've accomplished so much, you've been awarded, you've played and collaborated with such amazing DJs. So what's next, Saeed? What's next for you?
I feel like, yeah, you're right. I've pretty much done it all in the music stuff. I want to continue nurturing new artists, finding new talent. I think there's just so many amazing artists out there that they don't have that opportunity to knock on the door of a label and just let them in and at least give them a chance to shine. I mean, I think every artist deserves deserves some kind of a spotlight. Just if it's little or long, but you get to shine. And if you can make something happen out of that, it's almost like a cigarette, a lighter spark. You just gotta spark it, start a firecracker, and the firecracker keeps going, then it explodes. If not, then it's a dead. But you have to give them that opportunity. Just give them a little strike. So my thing is, now that we celebrate 20 years of the label, I'm just gonna focus more on the label, nurturing new artists, probably throwing more label showcase events, and just keep that going.
That's awesome. I know obviously you've been touring and you're continuing to tour. I love the way you play because you're very creative. You do what's called layers, right? So it's kind of like live performance, live producing as an art form. So talk to us about this. Like, why are you doing this, and how it allows you to be creative in this space?
Yeah, and you're right. We talked about that. So, obviously, a lot of people know in today's music, especially tech house, it's very cookie cutter. So it's like you've got your intro breakdown thing. So I feel what I like to do is come in and create another layer over that. Since it's all kind of blocked out, kind of sounding the same, I'll add my own acapellas. I layer things. I add my own drums, just to give it a little of something different. And also we spoke about it, so I just want to give people something they want, but nothing they expected. So they might hear a track the way it is, but I will add my own touch to it, whether it's an acapella, whether it's an effect. But I kind of build it in a little bit. It's almost like a Rubik's Cube, slowly put it all together, and it all comes kind of together, and that's how I like to present to people and create that full story like we used to do back in the day, which is like a complete journey.
Yeah, I like that saying. I want you to say it again.
Which part?
The part where you said about people knowing what to expect when you play music.
Yeah, so my saying is like, give them what they want, but nothing they expect.
I want you to expand on that. That's really neat.
So when people go to a club, they know what they want. So they know what tracks they probably want to hear. They've already heard it. Maybe they're on spot. They have it, on their playlist on Spotify. I can give them that in my own style, but I also give something different. I change it up for them. So I'm basically remixing stuff on the fly, just to give them a unique experience, nothing that they would normally hear if they heard it on Spotify or SoundCloud or whatnot. So that's my gift. It's like, I'm gonna give you what you want, but you didn't expect it to sound like that. This is my own take on it.
That's awesome. Listen, I want to talk about the club. Obviously, tonight you're back in Tulum, so welcome back. You're playing at Bomboniere, which is an amazing club, amazing sound, so I'm very excited to hear you tonight. What other shows you like to talk about?
So I have that tonight. I just finished playing in Merida. Is that how to pronounce it?
Merida, but we know what you mean.
Okay. I got that, and then I'm playing in Quebec. After that, then I'm also doing this festival called Bhakti Fest down in Joshua Tree, which it's my first time playing that, and I'm actually trying to expand on that route a little bit. It's more of a yoga, meditation.
Let's talk about that. That's really interesting. It goes back to the cold plunge, right? Like to health stuff that we really need to take into consideration.
Yeah.
So, what's back? I kind of checked it out. It's kind of like a yoga, health, wellness, and health kind of festival. So what interested you in being part of that?
Well, I've always been into like being healthy, having a balance in the music industry. Thank you. Yeah, I just want to, carry the torch a little further in my career. And I think in order to be successful in this career, you have to have that healthy balance between play and health and life balance. And I feel playing festivals like that, not only is it good for me mentally, but it also helps me be a better person in my normal life, and also in the studio, because these festivals are all about workshops with meditation, yoga, music, loving people who care, people who are kind to the planet. And it's nice to surround yourself with that once in a while, because you want to feel whole. You want to feel like this is what life is all about. It's not, you can club and party and all that, but if you don't have that other balance, it just doesn't add up. So, and to me, that's very important, especially as I'm getting older.
So, is that the personal side of Saeed?
Very much so, yeah. A lot of people probably know I'm an avid meditator. I do a lot of walking meditation. I do a lot of forest hikes, but that plays a huge role in my production. You may or may not hear it, but my focus in the studio, my focus on the label, my focus on nurturing artists, it all comes rooted from meditation, being subtle, being calm, and understanding the situation people are in, and try to see how we can all come together and make it work.
Yeah, and I think think, like you said, that's part of the success for anyone, whether it be in music or even, in a corporate job. At the end of the day, you got to take care of this so you can take care of everything else.
Take care of the vessels. I like
You have to take care of the vessels. Listen, Saeed, it's been a pleasure.
Thank you.
And so, any last words, anything you'd like to share with us before we finish the interview?
I'm happy we're celebrating my 20th anniversary. I'm happy to do this with you
Awesome.
on our 20th anniversary.
That's
Thanks
awesome.
for having me.
Congratulations, of
Thank
course.
you. And just check me out online, social media. Check out the label. Please support the artists on the label. They work really hard. They're all cats who are just trying to make it, like most of you probably watching. So it's all about what comes around goes around. So support them. They support you, and just follow them on Spotify, and we're all good. We're all gonna help each other.
Thank you again, Saeed Younan. This is Joanne, your host again at Downtown Tulum Radio. Thank you for watching, and take care of yourself. Of course, after this interview, you get to listen to the set. So thank you again. Thank you.
Thank you.
Downtown Tulum Radio.